Hello everyone and welcome back for the week 7 of English 1510-A8120. We're going through some final rounds here, and I moved some things so I can make sure that I get feedback to everybody as they're finalizing these components. I got everybody besides 6 or 7 left to publish the rhetorical analysis summary and outline portion there. So everybody should have feedback on that within the next 24 hours, I'd say, by the afternoon or evening on the 4th. And then the research pieces, I'll be right on those on Wednesday and Thursday morning. So everybody by sometime in Thursday afternoon should have those back to them to finalize those pieces. Now listen, with the rhetorical analysis, you got to the 7th to go over those ones. You know, get that final submission in. We got these two pieces, the research and summary and working thesis, and then primary points of support with the works cited. Make sure that you guys have gone through those. Make sure that you remember that what you're doing for the library research, for both of these, you're picking your topic, right, out of something from the database here. Again, if you pick something like media literacy, you do a general search here. Once you get into the database, I want to point this out again because I have a couple of students where we have a couple of issues with things like what you're submitting doesn't exactly match anywhere near the assignment that was given. So I'm doubling down on this week to make sure that we're very clear that what we want is supposed to look closer to what we're doing here. Apply the filters on this. Remember to get peer-reviewed, full-text source available. And if we're going for something we find in the database here, we're going to be grabbing a source. I'll go to the next page for one of these, since I grabbed one from there before. Grab something like this one. This might have been one that I did grab before. If I decide that this is one of the sources that I'm going to use, I go to my citation function here and make sure that I'm grabbing MLA 8th edition. Guys, please note, the way that this is framed and formatted is close to how it will look on your page. You will be justified to the left margin, and everything after the first line in entry will be a hanging indent like this. So you will format yours like that. But for the most part, guys, most of these entries should have the DOI, the digital object identifier, okay? So when you're copying, pasting a citation onto the works cited page, make sure you do so and fix the formatting back to this, and make sure that you follow all the rules for this. You're putting your list in alphabetical order. You're making sure that it's double spaced only. There's also a picture of a works cited page in your assigned reading for MLA, so make sure you follow those. It has to be formatted correctly. You'll put your 10 sources together for that piece of the primary points of support, which are your topic sentences that we reviewed last week. I extended this to the 5th, and then the rhetorical analysis final draft until the 7th, and I left the discussion board portion open so you can still read each other's comments before finalizing. Just make sure that you do. Make sure that you posted and you do those. I'll be putting the rest of those grades in by Thursday for those discussion boards. I'm not going to excuse anybody on that. I gave additional time on those. What I am going to do on here is change one more thing, and that is these research papers, summary working thesis, and the primary points of support, which are your topic sentences. Make sure you're filling them both out on their templates. Once again, I still had 2 students in class who were, no, 3 in this class, who were doing things that were not necessarily completely wrong, but you were changing my template to look completely differently, and when it comes in back on my end, it's very difficult for me to see it. Some of you are putting into some other software and it's elongating it and making it narrow, so it's very difficult for me to see, and a couple of you are changing font colors. Please do not do that. Just leave it as the black font. If you want to use a dark blue, I suppose that's fine, but this red and green and yellow font stuff that you guys are putting on these drive me crazy. Leave it as a regular standard color and style of font so I can actually read them and get through these pieces. And then I had one student in this class where it wasn't even the template. I just got submissions that were supposed to be outlines from the templates that I gave you guys, and instead of getting that back, you wrote something in like a version of an essay, but scaffolded together differently, and then also not following the exact protocols, what was going on with rhetorical analysis. So make sure that you're reading and following all directions, guys. And when there's a drop box like this, and you're going into these details, remember, the template was right here, right? We have the templates here. This is provided for you, and this is what you fill out. And every single week with these, not only did I go over these, I opened them up and walked through these details. This should be filled out in third person, full sentences, and you're writing here. Give a description explaining the topic. By the time your reader gets done with this first box, they should know what your topic is. Don't make announcement statements. Don't say this report will be about this or this report will be about that, or in the report that follows I'm going to be saying these things. That's something you would do on an abstract at the most, but you certainly would never do anything like that in first person, and you wouldn't do it as the opening of a portion like this. This is going to end up being part of your intro paragraph. So make sure you're actually filling out these templates, not making something of your own or providing me with something different, okay? Make sure you watch the videos in those. Those are the adjusted dates for those that I changed. And I had posted that up with this message here, Rhetorical Analysis Discussion Board Memoir Feedback. I'm almost finished, as I said, with the rhetorical analysis stuff, and the memoirs, I should be able to post those up within the next couple of days too. I just had a couple of you that I need to make recommendations for a rewrite. I think there are 2 or 3 students in the class that I'm recommending for a rewrite. The class average on memoirs is a little bit over an A. They're in the low A category. So everybody did. There are only a few students that had some real issues with it, where I think a rewrite is be very helpful, because you're going to have to go over all the errors, and that's those of you who are having a ton of issues at the sentence level. I got a few of you in here. I'm not getting many tutoring confirmation forms out of this class, even though I had 6 of you recommended for tutoring all semester. Your writing still shows just as many errors at this stage of the writing game as it did at the beginning of the semester, and I haven't seen a single form from the ASC tutoring from any of those students that I recommended further tutoring with, which is, that's very problematic, because this is a Comp 1 level course. So with both the memoir rhetorical analysis, I will be marking down for those types of errors, but it's a Comp 1, so we don't go over those a great deal in class. I mean, that's not something that's something that's expected by the time you get to a level of a Comp 1. So if you need that additional type of support, you have to be utilizing the tutoring or other services. Otherwise, you'll just have to take it as a loss of the what you get marked down at the sentence level of mechanical issues. There are a few of you that there are a couple of students in this class and in another one where even your messages you send me in D2L Instant Messaging, I can't make out a lot of what you're saying, because there are so many errors and issues at the sentence level just in a message like that. Students aren't paying attention to whether or not something has uppercase or lowercase wording, lettering and things like that at the start of a clause. I mean, it's a lot of problematic. There are quite a few issues there. So for the finalization, though, here at the end of the semester, I tried to lighten that up so that everybody has time to both get feedback and do their best work on these. So that final draft due on the 7th. Now you'll see here that the last thing that we're doing for the semester, I'm not going to have you guys do. We'll see here at the bottom on this. You got your research paper summary and outline, summary and working thesis, primary points of support with works cited, both due on the 5th. Rhetorical analysis final draft by the 7th. And then the final thing that we'll be doing, we're not going to do a draft of the paper of the research piece. You're going to do the outline. That's what's going to be due next week on the 11th. That gives you guys an extra, give you an extra day on that to make sure there we also got plenty of feedback, time for feedback and those things. But that puts us to Tuesday the 11th, and the last day of class technically is the 12th. That gives me time to make a review of those things and make sure that there's nothing else that we need. We won't have time for drafting stage, but as long as you're able to complete that outline, that will be the one thing you have due next week. if you complete this outline correctly, it's nothing more than transferring everything from the outline template right into a draft, if you see what we do with this outline framing. So the last thing you will do for next week is this outline. Make sure that you remember, just as I said, just like with the rhetorical analysis summary and outline, now we have the research paper outline, and that's going to include the entire general to specific framing. There's some sentences here that give you an example. They use music therapy as the example of framing this one. You go for general to specific to your topic and thesis. Make sure that you remember whatever your thesis is, it should give an indication of how it's going to be broken down in the body paragraphs. And then each one of the bodies, read all the directions here. You're going to give a topic sentence that tells your reader one area that you're focused on for the topic, right, your research topic. And then in the bodies, you're going to give at least 10 sentences that are supporting statements. Every one of these, try and think of one framing point of support that supports your thesis, your topic sentence, and your thesis statement, and then you're going to have at least 2 quotes per body paragraph, and you're going to follow quote format. If you follow quote format correctly, every one of the quotes requires 3 sentences. It's going to require 1 for the claim statement to introduce it. So one, up here it says, one of the primary benefits of using music therapy has been shown in treating stress and anxiety issues. One example of this is in a study by so-and-so. For instance, researchers stated in the article. Now here, please note, this is an abbreviation of a title. If you're going to use titles at all here, you're just going for abbreviations. I could abbreviate this one further, primary responses. We don't need to have full titles of articles wasting space in our outlines or our essays. It's enough to even in general terms refer to a researcher. So in other words, you could say, for instance, one researcher found, comma, and then give the quote. Here, the give the quote is the first minor support to this major support. Following that, you just need the last name of author or authors followed by the page number and period. Period comes after the citation. No punctuation here unless it's an exclamation point or a question mark. After each quote that you give, explain and or defend the use of the quote. That's not only explained on here in this template outline, it's also explained in the Dropbox. So make sure you read all the instructions and watch this video. If you complete this outline correctly, you will have all 3 bodies. Most of you will have three bodies on there, 3 body paragraphs, and you will have your intro and conclusion followed by an abstract. We write abstracts afterwards because we won't know what we're going to say in an abstract until we're done with the other content. We will only know what's fully in our report once we've completed a report. That way we can write an abstract and explain it to our reader before they get into the report. Just like you guys use abstracts to determine whether or not a report is viable for the research you're going to be conducting in the paper you want to write. Okay, so make sure that you're clear on those things, guys. You're going to be filling this out, and that's going to be one with a works cited page of 15 sources. So the final thing we're doing is not going to be a draft. It's going to be this outline with 15 sources. And again, master the outline and you've mastered the draft, right? If you do outlines correctly and know how to formulate them like this, you would be able to do that in a full essay format too. And we're not going to be able to get this to an essay stage, but I don't want us to be spinning through these just to get something else done as an essay form when we could have enough time to adequately do a fully developed outline. Okay? Now, I apologize again for some of the stuff on feedback. It's been an uncharacteristically problematic semester with ChatGPT, the plagiarism files, and all those things. There have been some students broomed from both classes of the online, and about 2 or 3 more coming down the pipe here pretty soon that are also going to be having some sit-down conversations and being talked to about some of the submissions that have taken place so far this term. Just remember, students have been warned about academic dishonesty. ChatGPT is not allowed, none of the AI software, using files and sourcing from online that are not sourced and given credit outside of a research piece is not allowed. We also need to recognize that, you can't submit your own old work from places. That's still the same thing. Make sure you guys are following policies. All right. So I look forward to seeing the work. Let me know if you got questions. If you're sending me messages up here, I respond. If you're sending them in the email, I'm not going through those anymore. Okay.